Hey folks, the merriest of Christmases to you and your families from fullboresilver. I hope you're having a fantastic Christmas. Well, as predicted, after the meteoric spikes on Tuesday around 7 p.m., we pulled back in the increasingly irrelevant Western paper markets on Wednesday after the US stock market bell opened. I took some profits right off the bell in some of the equities and miners, and then I legged back in when the consolidation started and I saw the formation of those bull patterns reemerge. So that's kind of been my strategy. Again, ultimate amount of diligence and preparedness with trading equities and miners. You really have to have the triggers set, audible triggers so you know what's happening, and the stop losses. They are like a leveraged long. They're like these 4x ETFs. So you have to be very careful when you're trading these. Again, my recommendation to most people is hold precious metals. Sit back, relax, do nothing. Don't stress, sleep well, enjoy your family, enjoy your hobbies, prepare for what may come. It's kind of a set it and forget it. Equities, it's another means of generating fiat cash flow. So again, you can keep stacking. Now, we're seeing this increasing disconnect between the Western paper markets and the Eastern physical markets. Shanghai Gold Exchange, Shanghai Futures Exchange are becoming increasingly the benchmark by which precious metals are pegged. I saw that India's second largest bank, ICICI Prudential, effectively ditched the LBMA pricing fix, furthering the decoupling. And you saw also, as these Western paper markets plunged on yet more manipulation, the Shanghai Gold Exchange Eastern Physical Market response was basically a $7 premium to what COMEX was doing price-wise. I believe SGE silver per ounce hit 78.55, possibly 79. I'm hearing a couple different numbers, but you are seeing this massive spread emerging, and a lot of people have kind of been talking about that. Adam Taggart has had some guests on his wonderful finance show, and some of the luminaries in the industry that have been in the precious metals space for 5 decades are talking about the increasing irrelevancy of COMEX, LBMA. We saw JPM move one of their metals desks to Singapore to address Shanghai and these Eastern markets. So BYD, which we talked about the other day, the largest EV maker in the world, is joining Samsung in the solid state silver battery race, okay? So 1 kilo per silver per solid state battery. Now I ran some numbers. Also, this solid state battery changes the game for EVs. Never been much of a proponent for the EVs. I do have a hybrid F-150. It's an awesome truck. It's super, super quiet when it's on electric mode for hunting. I don't do truck hunting, but kind of, getting into the grounds on a buddy's ranch or like a big ranch, like 1,000 acre or something like that, driving around, you're not going to drive off a lot of game. It's really, really stealth. I love it. But it's still got a 500 horsepower engine, 500 torque, and the thing hauls ass. So I love the hybrids. I don't think I'd ever go full EV. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. But 9-minute charge, 1,000-kilometer range, if you're not driving like a madman. It's a game changer. So in 2024, 17.3 million EVs were manufactured. They say that by 2025 or 2026, 23 million units, including industrial EVs, are going to be generated. So we currently mine 820 million troy ounces of silver per year. So if you got a kilo, that basically translates to, if they put solid state batteries in every single one of these EVs, you would have such an overrun of demand for the annual production, which is already in a deficit, 6-year deficit. I mean, it would be impossible. It's impossible to do at this point, but you're seeing increasing adoption, and especially these affluent people that kind of are bandwagon jumpers, and they love the EVs and they like to drive them around the neighborhood. I mean, I have friends with Rivians and, you know, all the higher end EVs, and, you know, the performance on these vehicles is great, but they love to be able to tell their doctor buddies and whoever else, oh yeah, I got the latest solid state battery. So I think you're going to see a lot of adoption, just going to drive more silver demand. So incredible. Also, I wanted to just address really quickly, you know, this fiat money system it's based on trust. Our entire financial system, in fact, our entire civilization, society in the United States is built on trust, accountability, which now is becoming increasingly scarce. You got CPI labors. We're being gaslit on an industrial level right now. CPI numbers are fake. Labor numbers are fake. I don't know if you saw this latest hoax out of the UK. Basically, they were furthering this climate agenda, and they were reporting climate and temperature numbers from weather stations that have been decommissioned for decades, that don't even exist. So this is like a huge scandal all over the last couple days. So you got the climate hoax, you got Epstein, you've got Trump coin. I mean, look, a lot of us voted for this guy. He extracted $67 billion out of the crypto markets with the creation of Trump coin, Melania coin, Barron coin, blah, blah, blah. How are you going to trust somebody like that? You got this Ukraine nonsense going on. The Nord Stream pipeline. I mean, speaking of climate, that was the largest carbon monoxide emission ever in human history. Is when whoever, NATO, Ukraine, whoever, CIA, God only knows who detonated this thing, the Nord Stream pipeline. But the amount of emission, that was the largest climate catastrophe probably since the eruption of Mount St. Helens. So, and these are the people that are flying to Davos on their G5s and G6s and talking about how, you know, you and I have to not use plastic straws. So they're flying around on Learjets, you know, Taylor Swift and Leo DiCaprio and Bill Gates, and they're telling you how to live. So this all kind of ties in together. The trust is being broken in this system. People are realizing this. Even normies are realizing this. And so there's going to be a flight from fiat. I wanted to also say that, you know, I have a lot of conviction in precious metals. Many of you that listen to this have been stackers for years. You're way ahead of the curve. But I wanted to go over a couple simple points and talk about when I will completely divest from precious metals. You know, when I'm going to sell, when I'm out. So these are my conditions for when I am out of precious metals. It's very simple, you know, not a lot has to be done. Then I'm going to sell all my stacks, all my gold, silver, all my equities, all my miners, platinum, palladium, even the base metals, copper, zinc, uranium, rhodium, like anything, you know, it's just, I'm not going to need it anymore. So some, you know, pretty simple steps here. So the Fed has to be abolished. All the U.S. debt has to be paid down. The fractional reserve banking system has to be eliminated. No longer fractional. The deposits to lending has to be at a 1-to-1 ratio. I want the Pentagon budget cut by 75%. All foreign wars ceased. I want term limits in all federal government, and you can throw in state and municipal too. I want FARA, the Foreign Agent Registration Act. I want that enforced against all outside governments, one in particular. I want our currency returned to a precious metal standard. I want AI immediately halted and studied for its long-term impacts and the possible rollout of Skynet and the T-1000s that are going to come annihilate us all. I want the Sherman Antitrust Act analyzed, enforced against every single S&P 500 company and NASDAQ, and you can throw in the Russell 2000 too. And I want the full unredacted Epstein files, 9/11, JFK, Waco, Ruby Bridge, Oklahoma City bombing, Operation PatCon, Vietnam, Pearl Harbor, and there's probably a few others in there. You can throw in Gulf of Tonkin. One really smart commenter brought that up. But, if all of that happens, then I will divest of my silver and gold. So, some simple steps. So we'll see how that goes. I saw one other interesting bit. Money markets in this country, the amount of money in money markets now is $7.5 trillion. Okay? Those have a 4% return. The dollar is down 12% in 2025. That's an 8% loss if you were holding cash in a money market. $7 trillion of boomer money in money markets. What do you think these people see or how do they feel when they see 140% return on silver and whatever it is on gold, 70%, 60%? Do you think that they are going to want to pull some money out of $7 trillion in money markets? What about actively managed funds? That's 17.4 trillion. You know what their annualized return is? Someplace between 9 and 12% over the last 10 years. Okay? That time, the dollar, Dixie, if you throw it up on TradingView, it has gone from 103 to 97. You're basically treading water. The actively managed funds return less than passively managed funds. So, S&P index, Q index, average return over the last 10 years is 14%. Once you compare that to silver, the total world assets under management is $147 trillion. By 2030, it will be $200 trillion. If even a fraction of the assets under management open their eyeballs and look at the returns on precious metals and then start investing in gold and silver, it's just going to add jet fuel to this already exploding meteoric rise in the precious metals. And, again, getting back to the Adam Taggart and some of the other financial pods, I guess asset managers are already kind of going through their due diligence. How are we going to get more money into precious metals? I mean, these clowns spend 12, 14 hours a day looking at charts and doing all this work, and they're getting 1/10 of the return that you're getting on just holding precious metals. They are going to be shifting a part of the portfolio in, because when a customer calls in to Fidelity or T. Rowe Price and they're like, my buddy over here that stacked shiny rocks just got 140% return over the course of the year, and you idiots who I'm giving $500,000 a year to on my, whatever it is, $20 million account, you're giving me back 10%? This is untenable situation, okay? So, yeah, I believe it was Kevin Muir on Adam Taggart that talked about that. Also, tune in to Andy Finding Value. This guy's a genius. He does all kinds of technical analysis. I agree with quite a bit of what he does. So he takes fractal patterns from the past with a TA, and he applies them to basically the fractal pattern from like the last 2011 silver bull market. You can overlay that on what's going on today, and it'll help you make projections. Of course, it's not guaranteed, but he basically said that if silver mirrors the 2011 market, we get to $527 an ounce on silver if you overlay that fractal pattern. Gold, 15,000 as a low, and highs on gold of 50,000 to 70,000. Again, be careful what you wish for. That means the complete destruction of the fiat currency system and the US dollar. But this is where this thing could go. In extreme conditions in the past, platinum has 5 to 6x gold, and that also is a signal that the S&P is kind of on its last legs, and I think we're nearing exhaustion points. I did like the Michael Oliver bit where, you know, he was like, the S&P is not going to crash tomorrow. M2 money supply is at all-time records. There's a ton of liquidity. We've got all this money and that's coming out of treasuries, and also, again, the money markets, etc., propping this up. But if this mirrors what happened in the 20s, we're going to 5 to 6x gold with a platinum price. Very inflation sensitive. Any inflation out there? Incredible. So a couple other things. I know I made light and poked fun at my neighbors who drive the Subaru Outback the other day. But we actually lost water in the neighborhood, in the area, right on Christmas. Incredible. And I'll be damned if those Subaru Outback driving ladies weren't delivering water and ice to some of the elderly neighbors. So good on them. Man, you have to prepare, and friends and allies come in all different shapes and sizes. So, you know, we love everybody. We love all the colors. We love all the genders, all 87 of them. Because if you can kick ass when the shit hits the fan, then you're on my team. Also, we don't do enough preparedness on this channel. Aaron and JB handled that a lot more, but in the event of a water crisis, you definitely want to have these guys. These are the 5-gallon opaque stackable water. You can throw a spigot in here. I treat it with an ionizing solution, but because it's opaque, it keeps out the heat and the sunlight. Keep it in a cool place so you don't get weird stuff growing in there. Then I throw it through a Berkey filter, and I mean, you're good to go for years on this baby. So yeah, keep these around. I mean, this is like 40 pounds. So, you know, shit hits the fan, your gem's closed, you just, you know, you can lift your stackable water containers. Anyway, have a fantastic Merry Christmas, and thank you for tuning in, and it certainly is going to be interesting to see where these markets go. We'll talk to you soon. Full Bore Silver, like, subscribe, share. Take care.